Students, today we are going to talk about the various components of the personnel aspects of the administrative system. This is extremely important because the most critical element of any administrative system is its human resource. How we recruit the human resource, how we organize the human resource, how we look after our human resource makes a lot of difference to the outcomes of any organization, be it private or public. However, in public organizations, the practices involved might be a little different, in fact, quite a bit different from those in the private sector, and for obvious reasons. Again, we'll start looking at that concept of bureaucracy, which is so endemic and so systemic to the concept of administrative systems all over the world. This time we are going to look at the kinds of bureaucracy, because it's over a period of time that bureaucracy developed into what we now call a merit-based bureaucracy, and hence merit-based instruments apply to all aspects of getting people into the bureaucratic organizations and then their career development as time goes on. There's this concept of guardian bureaucracy. In this, the civil servant is considered the guardian of justice and welfare of the community, a benevolent, well-meaning individual who is there to ensure that justice is done in all aspects of public life. And also, he or she looks after community welfare, about all aspects of community welfare. And we know that there is a wide range of these aspects, starting from law and order to provision of basic necessities in case of calamities. And of course, there are those routine welfare activities like looking after the poor through some schemes, or for that matter, provision of health, education and social services, especially to the underprivileged classes. Now, historically, we see that the guardian concept of bureaucracy was practiced in Prussia, in Europe and China long ago, as long back as 2nd BC. And even then, members of the bureaucracy were selected on basis of their educational background and were imparted proper training, even in those days. And at that time, the bureaucrat was considered as the guardian of the people. This type of bureaucracy over a period of time developed into a merit-based bureaucracy. Now, what is the civil service? We'll look at some definitions of the civil service. Are bureaucracy and civil service the same? Well, civil service is the name given to that group of individuals who perform public tasks, who within the administrative system are going to work in different capacities in different departments, in different organizations connected with the public sector. Whereas bureaucracy is a larger concept. It includes all those civil servants who are working on public posts, but it also highlights the characteristics of this huge working force and how it has developed along with its various features and idiosyncrasies over a period of time. So sometimes bureaucracy, the word bureaucracy has negative connotations, because when we talk of bureaucracy, we at once think of large organizations, overstaffed organizations, inefficient organizations, and organizations that are not really bothered about public delivery, of delivering to the people on the ground. Now, Herman Feiner called the civil service as a professional body of officials, permanent and skilled. So these people's men and women are supposed to be permanently employed. They are there for their lifetime in the civil service, and they better be skilled at their jobs. So you have this huge body, lots of people working in the public sector who are supposed to be highly skilled and professional. Again, this is from E.N. Gladden now, another gentleman who wrote a lot about bureaucracy and analyzed its various aspects. He talks about the requirements of a civil servant. And he says, the requirements of a civil service are that it shall be impartially selected, administratively competent, politically neutral. Is that possible? And imbibed with the spirit to serve the community. That negative connotation we talked about, that often, especially in developing countries like ours, it is considered that bureaucracy does not really serve the community. It serves its own ends and the ends of its political masters. Anyway, theoretically speaking, this definition is good, because it wants you to be very competent in administrative matters. It wants you to be at arm's length as far as the politicians are concerned. And it expects that you are imbibed with this great spirit and this commitment to serve the people. Now, some of the generic features of the bureaucracy. We looked at two definitions. And now some more details. When we are generally talking about bureaucracy, we exclude the military and the judicial services. They too are public servants performing a set of different tasks, but they are not included or not expected to be included in the mainstream concept of bureaucracy vis-a-vis the administrative system of the country. Whom else do we include or exclude? Those holding political office. For example, a MPA or a minister or a member of or a chairman of a subcommittee of the parliament or an advisor to the prime minister or the chief minister. These are political persons holding political offices, and as such they are also not included in the bureaucracy. They are part of the administrative system, definitely. The politicians who are heading ministries are part of the administrative system, but they are not part of the bureaucracy. Because bureaucracy comprises of those personnel only who have been inducted as such for a lifetime career in the civil services, and over a period of time they are trained professionally on job and off job to be able to perform more efficiently and in keeping with the changing times. Now he's calling politicians amateur. That doesn't mean that politicians may not know anything about their subject, but of course it means that they do not or may not have been trained that much, may not be skilled that much, may not be that professional regarding that subject, because they have not spent a lifetime of dealing with that subject. So he says that that bureaucracy is a body of professional administrators as opposed to amateur politicians. So we got to bifurcate, we got to make the distinction between these two set of public office holders: the regular lifetime civil servants who have been inducted and trained in a particular manner, and the politicians who at a certain time happen to be holding a public office in connection with that particular subject or area of administrative responsibility. Some more features now, and these are in fact characteristics of the system, of the personnel system, which generally comprises of recruitment, training, further training, and of course pays, benefits, pensions, and all aspects related to any personnel system. So the features of the bureaucracy are that it should be impartially selected. It should be impartially selected. And that is only possible if the appointment is through an open competition. Now the administrative officers are going to be appointed after they have gone through a scrutiny, through a process of selection, which should include open competition. Later on, we'll look at the ways in which this is done. But politicians, on the other hand, are elected on a party basis. So at any given time, the minister of a particular ministry would be someone belonging to a particular political party and someone who has been elected from a constituency within the country. So two diverse backgrounds, very, very diverse backgrounds, people with diverse backgrounds come together and make up the administrative system, whose sole objective is supposed to be serve the people. And then it's very obvious that anyone who comes into public service or joins the civil service, they have come there for good. They have decided since day one that they want to make public service their career, primarily their career. And they are willing to spend their whole life working as civil servants. Because over a period of time they know they will be well trained, their skills will be upgraded from time to time, they will be promoted, they will be looked after, they will have certain perks and privileges, and when they retire, they do have generally a pension to look forward to. So this concept of lifetime occupation, of having come into the bureaucracy, of having become a civil servant, can work both ways. It can make them proud, since they are powerful, proud in the positive sense, taking pride in your work, serving the people. And it can motivate them to do better, to get as much of additional qualifications and skills as they can, to get exposed in a very, very macro manner, to help bring about change with changing times. And they should be doing that because they have committed themselves to public service and taken it up as a lifetime career. On the other hand, it is also possible that they may go into lethargy, but this thing at the back of their mind that, well, now that I've made it to the civil service, I'll keep on getting promoted, so why should I bother so much? Let things take their course. And that is what is called status quo. Why should I bother to change things? Why should I go at pains to serve people? Let me relax. So that's another aspect of a lifetime career of the bureaucratic type. اور ایک اور چیز جو ہے بیوروکریسی کے بارے میں کہ آپ ایکسپیکٹ کرتے ہیں کہ یہ افسران جو سول سروس میں آئے ہیں مقابلے کا امتحان دے کر آئے ہیں اور ان کی ٹریننگ بھی کی جا رہی ہے وقتاً فوقتاً، تو وہ اپنی کوالیفیکیشنز کی وجہ سے، اپنے ورک ایکسپیرئنس کی وجہ سے، اس ٹریننگ کی وجہ سے اپنے پروفیشن میں، اپنے سبجیکٹ میں ایکسپرٹس بن جائیں گے اور ان کی ایکسپرٹیز کا فائدہ عوام کو ہوگا، ملک کو ہوگا، سیاستدان کو ہوگا. کیونکہ جب وہ پالیسی بناتا ہے تو سینئر بیوروکریٹس کی جب اس میں ان پٹ جاتی ہے، تو اگر ایک پروفیشنل اپنی ان پٹ اس پالیسی فارمولیشن میں دے رہا ہے تو ظاہر ہے پالیسی کے خد و خال بہتر ہوں گے. اور کیا فیچرز ہیں؟ ایک اور فیچر ہم نے اس کی پہلے بھی بات کی ہے کہ جو بیوروکریٹک آرگنائزیشن ہوتی ہے دیٹ از آرگنائزڈ آن دا پرنسپل آف ہائرارکی. یعنی ایک لیڈر آف پروموشن ہوتا ہے، پوسٹ ہوتی ہیں، لوور پوسٹ ہوتی ہے، پھر اس سے ہائر، پھر اس سے ہائر، پھر اس سے ہائر. آپ جہاں بھی انڈکٹ ہوتے ہیں بیوروکریسی میں، موسٹ آف دا ٹائم دیر از اے ہائر پوسٹ یو آر لوکنگ اپ ٹو اینڈ ورکنگ ٹوورڈز اٹ. اور جو آپ کا سپروائزر ہے یا اس وقت آپ کا آفیسر انچارج ہے، وہ بھی ایکسپیکٹ کر رہا ہوتا ہے پروموشن، آپ بھی ایکسپیکٹ کر رہے ہوتے ہیں پروموشن. تو یہ جو مختلف پوسٹ اور مختلف لیولز رکھی گئی ہیں، اس کو ہائرارکل آرگنائزیشن کہتے ہیں. مثلاً ہمارے ہاں ایک ٹپیکل منسٹری میں آپ کو نظر آئے گا کہ ایک سیکشن آفیسر ہے، اس کے اوپر ڈپٹی سیکرٹری ہے، پھر جوائنٹ سیکرٹری ہے، ایڈیشنل سیکرٹری بھی ہو سکتا ہے، اور پھر ایڈمنسٹریٹو سیکرٹری ہے. تو گویا یہ ایک ویل اسٹیبلشڈ ہائرارکی ہے. اینڈ دا پرسن ورکنگ ایٹ دا باٹم ایز اے سیکشن آفیسر would want to improve his qualifications and get all the requisite training so that he keeps on getting promoted from one step of the hierarchy to the next higher step and so on. Okay, now this is very important. Private profit. As a civil servant, you are not supposed to indulge in any activity which brings you monetary returns while you are in the service. As a public servant, you are not supposed to involve yourself into any such activities. And it is presumed that your career system has been developed in such a manner, that you have been inducted in such a manner, that all those personality traits which were required of you and which were thought to be there when you were being evaluated will not let you indulge in the incentive for private profit. That you will be honest, you will practice integrity, and also you will not look for other businesses, because there could be a conflict of interest, to say the least, while you are in the civil service. Anonymity. You are not expected to show off. You're supposed to quietly keep on working towards the objectives. You may be giving relief to a lot of people, but it's not necessary that they should know who you are, what your name is perhaps, or what your designation is. You don't have to portray yourself as a benefactor. آپ جن لوگوں کو سرو کر رہے ہو ان کو آپ نے بغیر بتائے، بغیر دکھائے اپنے آپ کو، بغیر کسی لالچ کے صحیح کام کرتے جانا. So this is the principle of anonymity. And also, You don't have to mix or indulge in relationships with the people on behalf of whom you might be making decisions, big commerce-related decisions, money-related decisions, relief of sorts. اگر ان لوگوں کو آپ کا پتہ ہی نہیں ہوگا کون کیا کر رہا ہے, کیسے کر رہا ہے, کیا نام ہے اس کا, ظاہر ہے وہ ڈس آنیسٹی اور کرپشن کا ایلیمنٹ بہت منیمائز ہو جاتا ہے. اسی لیے یہ پرنسپل آف انانیمٹی ایک کارڈینل پرنسپل رکھا گیا ہے ان دا سیلف سروس کہ چپ چاپ آپ اپنا کام آنیسٹلی کرتے جائیے گا. پیٹرنیج بیوروکریسی کی ہم نے بات کی. پہلے بھی شاید تھوڑی سی. اب پیٹرنیج بیوروکریسی جو ہے اس کی کیا خد و خال ہوتے ہیں. یہ پرسنل یا پولیٹیکل بیسس پر آپ کو اپوائنٹمنٹس اوارڈ کی جاتی ہیں. Personally, if you are a friend of someone very high up, the ministers or the prime minister, you may be awarded an appointment. Hopefully you are technically qualified for it. Otherwise you will ruin that whole administrative area. So this is a personal favor. In some countries it is also known as crony capitalism, where you are bestowing upon your friends and cronies good appointments or giving them good projects from which they can make a lot of money, and not very transparently. Or as a result of political reward. In other words, you belong to a certain party or you don't belong to the party, but you have been politically involved. You have been giving favors, money, support, lobbying for a certain candidate or for a certain party. So when that party comes into power, اگر آپ نے جس پارٹی کو اتنا کچھ فائدہ پہنچایا ہے جب وہ کیمپین کر رہی تھی, آپ نے ان کی فنڈنگ کی ہے, آپ نے ان کو دوسرے طریقوں سے فائدہ اٹھایا ہے, فائدہ دیا ہے, تو جب وہ پارٹی پاور میں آئے گی آپ یہ ایکسپیکٹ کر رہے ہیں کہ آپ کو وہ کوئی اچھی سی اپوائنٹمنٹ دے دیں گے, کسی ایسی منسٹری میں لگا دیں گے جہاں سے آپ کچھ نہ کچھ تو بنا سکیں. سو اس قسم کی پولیٹیکل ریوارڈ جو ہے پیٹرنیج کا ایک سسٹم ہے, اور لوگوں کو اپوائنٹ کیا جاتا ہے اس قسم کے سسٹمز میں. خاص طور پہ یہ سسٹم جو ہے یو ایس میں رائج رہا ہے, اور ایک وقت تو 100% بیوروکریسی جو ہے کی اپوائنٹمنٹس جو ہے اسی طرح فل ان ہوتی تھی. لیکن آج کل کم ہو گیا ہے, اور کچھ سلیکٹو پوسٹ صرف پیٹرنیج سسٹم یا جس کو اسپوائل سسٹمز بھی کہا جاتا ہے, اس پیٹرنیج سسٹم یا اسپوائل سسٹم کے تحت وہ پوسٹ فل ان ہوتی ہیں. یو ایس از دا میجر کنٹری ویئر دس ہیز بین پریکٹسڈ فار اے لانگ ٹائم اینڈ از اسٹل بینگ پریکٹسڈ ٹوڈے. لیکن اور ملکوں میں بھی تھوڑا بہت ایسا چلتا رہا ہے, اور ہمیں پتہ ہے کہ یو کے میں بھی 19th سینچری میں یہ سسٹم رہا کہ جو پاور میں آیا وہ ساتھ اپنے اپوائنٹیز بھی لے آیا. اور ایون ان میرٹ بیسڈ بیوروکریسی, جیسے ہمارے پاکستان میں میرٹ بیسڈ بیوروکریسی ہے, لیکن اسٹل وی سی فرام ٹائم ٹو ٹائم دیر آر ایگزامپلز آف پیپل بینگ اپوائنٹڈ on key positions because they are friends, they have personal connections, and as such are granted this favor, or they have been political supporters and funders of the party which has come into power. Now another bureaucracy, caste bureaucracy. Interesting. This again goes back to the concept of Karl Marx about there being classes in the society, of certain classes trying to exploit the others. And the bureaucracy trying to develop a gulf between the ruler and the ruled. In India, we had this example long time ago, when the higher castes, the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas, as we know, the Brahmins are the religious people, the religious leaders, and the Kshatriyas are supposed to be very well versed in business. So members of these so-called elite or higher castes were appointed to administrative posts just on the basis of their belonging to these castes in ancient India. Of course, a merit type of bureaucracy prevails there now. A similar example, though not exactly based on the caste system, prevailed till recently in the UK. And how did that work? उसमें ये होता था कि वो लोग जो बड़ी बड़ी फैमिली से बिलोंग करते थे, पैसे वाले होते थे या रॉयल होते थे, या कोई ना कोई उनकी रॉयल लाइनेज में स्टैंडिंग होती थी, उनके बच्चे बच्चियां जो हैं, they would go to the best colleges, the best schools, best universities of the UK, और फिर उनको without much ado civil service में induct कर लिया जाता था. They were bright people, but they belonged to the aristocratic class. वो या कैम्ब्रिज से पढ़ते थे या ऑक्सफोर्ड से पढ़ते थे, लेकिन they would land up into the bureaucracy. So the bureaucracy was dominated by people from these so-called aristocratic or elite classes, and only a small proportion of the bureaucracy came from the middle classes. So these are all examples of what we can call the caste bureaucracies. Bureaucracies or bureaucratic systems dominated by some kind of divisions on a caste basis. Ab aayega, let's have a look at the merit bureaucracy, which is supposed to be practiced worldwide now and is supposed to have established itself as the way to go. کہ ایسے ہی ہونا چاہیے, bureaucracy اس قسم کی ہونی چاہیے, میرٹ پر بیسڈ ہونی چاہیے, اور اس کے خد و خال کیا ہوں گے؟ اس میں آپ ریکروٹمنٹ جو ہے کمپیٹیٹو سسٹم سے کریں گے, یعنی ایک امتحان ہوگا یا بہت سے امتحانات ہوں گے مختلف قسم کے, جس میں ہر کوئی اپیئر ہو سکتا ہے. آف کورس جو بیسک کوالیفیکیشنز ہیں وہ تو مد نظر رکھنی پڑے گی, اور اگر اور کوئی ریسٹرکشنز ہیں ریلیٹنگ ٹو یا فیسلٹیز ہیں ریلیٹنگ ٹو یور ریزیڈینشل اسٹیٹس کے آپ کا ڈومیسائل کہاں کا ہے, یا فیسلٹیز بیسڈ آن جینڈر, تو وہ آپ انجوائے کر سکتے ہیں. بٹ ادروائز اٹ از اے اوپن competitive system, and you have to take a competitive civil service exam to be able to get inducted into a merit-based bureaucracy. اس میں پھر کیریکٹرسٹکس آ جاتے ہیں کہ یہ جیسے ہم نے پہلے بھی بات کی, آپ کو ایک لائف ٹائم career دیتی ہے. The tenure is not for 1 year, 2 years or 3 years. It is for a complete lifetime. اور پھر number of training programs, in service training programs. یعنی جب آپ نے جوائن کر لیے بیوروکریسی تو آپ کی ٹریننگز فرام ٹائم ٹو ٹائم ہوتی جائیں گی. وہ سسٹم آپ کو خود ٹرین کرائے گا. اور یہ مسٹ ہے ہر بیوروکریسی میں, ہر میرٹ بیسڈ بیوروکریسی میں. ایکسٹینسو سسٹم آف ان ہاؤس ٹریننگز اور trainings abroad or trainings in the country related to your job or to your skills or to your traits or towards the new trends in the world. یہ trainings جو ہیں are an essential component of any merit-based bureaucracy because they are trying to improve your skills all the time, to broaden your viewpoint all the time. پھر ہم نے ہائرارکل آرڈر کی بات کی تو اس میں ضروری ہو جاتا ہے کہ آپ کچھ کلاسیفیکیشنز کریں. یعنی آپ پوزیشن کے بیسس پر کچھ کلاسیفیکیشنز کریں, کیونکہ ہر ادارے کا کام دوسروں سے مختلف ہے. ایڈمنسٹریٹو اداروں کے جو پولیس نے کام کرنا ہے وہ آڈٹ سروس کے لوگوں کے کام سے بہت مختلف ہے. جو کسٹم والوں نے کام کرنا ہے وہ پوسٹل والوں کے کام سے بہت مختلف ہے. اور مختلف گریڈز ہیں جیسے ہم نے دیکھا پاکستان میں, اور نومنکلیچر ہے. یعنی جیسے ہم نے پہلے بات کی تھی, سیکشن آفیسر ہوتا ہے, ڈپٹی سیکرٹری ہوتا ہے, ایڈیشنل سیکرٹری ہوتا ہے, وغیرہ وغیرہ. تو کچھ نہ کچھ کلاسیفیکیشنز آپ کو چاہیے ہوں گی ٹو میک دس سسٹم ورک. پھر یو گو ٹو ہیو اے ریشنل اپروچ ٹو پے اینڈ الاؤنسز, کہ آپ نے جو پے یا اس کے ساتھ کوئی الاؤنسز یا پرکس یا پریولیجز منسلک ہیں کسی ایک خاص پوزیشن کے ساتھ, تو وہ ریشنل ہونے چاہیے. یعنی یہ نہیں کہ خواہ مخواہ آپ کسی پوزیشن کو 3 لاکھ دے رہے ہیں ایک محکمے میں, اور اس سے ملتی جلتی پوزیشن ایک اور محکمے میں ہے اور اس کو آپ 1 لاکھ کی تنخواہ دے رہے ہیں. یا آپ ایک محکمے میں کلرک کو جو تنخواہ دے رہے ہیں وہ دوسرے محکمے میں شاید سپروائزر کی اس سے بھی زیادہ ہو تنخواہ. تو یہ نہیں ہو سکتا. یو گوٹ ٹو ہیو اے ریشنل اپروچ ان دا میرٹ بیوروکریسی وین یو آر ڈیٹرمننگ دا پے اینڈ الاؤنسز آف پیپل. ہاؤ مچ آر یو گوئنگ ٹو پے, what kind of allowances they are going to get, what kind of other facilities you are going to give them. Is there going to be a medical facility or not? And if there is going to be one, what are the limits? Are you going to give a lot of medical facilities to certain organizations while the employees of other organizations do not enjoy them? تو یہ سب چیزیں دیکھنی پڑتی ہیں. مثلا ہمارے یہاں کارپوریشنز میں پبلک سیکٹر کی زیادہ تنخواہیں اور زیادہ فیسلٹیز ہیں. کیا یہ ریشنل اپروچ ہے؟ Is it commensurate with the work they do? So we have to look at all that. تو آپ کی انڈکشن جو ہے سول سروس میں وہ میرٹ پر ہوئی ہے. I've gone through a competitive exam. What about promotion? Again, promotion should be based on merit. And there are ways and means of determining that merit for promotion purposes. اس کو ہم آگے چل کے ڈیٹیل میں ڈسکس کریں گے. بٹ جو پرنسپل ہے, جو اصول ہے جس پر ہمیں کاربن رہنا چاہیے, اور جو حصہ ہے میرٹ بیوروکریسی کے کانسیپٹ کا, it says promotion has to be based on the merit principle. ریٹائرمنٹ پروگرامز. اب ایک شخص نے پوری زندگی ایک خاص طریقہ کار کے تحت پبلک سروس میں گزار دی، تو جب وہ ریٹائر ہو رہا ہے، ایٹ دی اینڈ آف دا ڈے all administrative systems, all bureaucracies, all public service systems provide for a pension or some other retirement program. So this is a very important part of the setup, because this is one of the main attractions which brings competent and capable people into the bureaucracy. That once they go home after having served the nation and the country and the public, they will have something to depend upon. اب ان کے کیریکٹرسٹکس ہم نے دیکھے، فیچرز ہم نے دیکھے. What comes out of it? What is the outcome? How should it be the outcome? Representative bureaucracies are responsible and responsive to political forces which command the support of electorate at a given time. Representative bureaucracy کیا ہوتی ہے؟ اس کو کہا جاتا ہے جو حکومت وقت میں جو پارٹی ہے اس کی بات کرے، اس کے پروگرام آگے لے کر چلے، ان میں رکھنا نہ ڈالے. یعنی پیپل، politicians who have been elected as representatives from a political party and have come into power and are trying to go ahead and deliver to the people based on their manifestos. If the bureaucracy goes along with them fully and maybe overboard sometimes, trying to be more loyal than the king, then that is called a representative bureaucracy. And in such a setup, people belonging to the parties which have not come into power may suffer at the hands of the representative bureaucracy. So it is not all a positive connotation which this enjoys. At times bureaucracy, such a bureaucracy may even be utilized to persecute the opponents of the political party who's in power. Then another concept here, party-state bureaucracies. These are byproduct of totalitarian regimes or of one-party political system. And such a bureaucracy is dominated and penetrated by the party bureaucracy. جہاں پارٹی بہت اسٹرانگ ہو یا ون پارٹی سسٹم ہو، جیسے رشیا میں تھا، جیسے چین میں ہے، کیوبا میں. Generally this is coming from a communistic background. So the party-state bureaucracies are where actually the distinction between bureaucracy and the party or the politician is lost or becomes very vague. یعنی اس میں بیوروکریسی بھی پارٹی ہو جاتی ہے اور پارٹی ہی بیوروکریسی ہو جاتی، کیونکہ جو پارٹی کے عہدے دار ہیں وہ بیوروکریسی میں ڈال دیے جاتے ہیں. Even in China now, there may be a merit-based bureaucracy, but the key party people do make their way into the bureaucracy. Or they have a parallel set of bureaucracy which may be even more powerful than the so-called merit bureaucracy. So, one-party systems or totalitarian regimes where no opposition is tolerated. Under such circumstances, you can find what we call party-state bureaucracies. And then another type of bureaucracy, military-dominated bureaucracy, wherein the armed forces in control install their representatives in key administrative posts. We don't have to go very far for any example. It's our own country, one of the best examples of this. Whenever there have been martial laws in Pakistan, we find more and more people from the military being pushed into the bureaucracy, becoming bureaucrats overnight. A brigadier may start heading a division in one way or other. Or state-owned corporations are a very favorite slot for such bureaucrats, military bureaucrats. The foreign service is another favorite area. And sometimes, in fact, most of the time, they also find their way into ministries at senior posts and also departments. Irrespective of the fact that they have not been trained as civil bureaucrats. They have not come through the competitive exam, and they have not undergone those trainings which are supposed to make the bureaucrat professional and attuned to the changing times, and also a person who is well-rounded, has been exposed to the world, and has been prepared to deliver to the people. Then there is the ruler-dominated bureaucracy. Now we saw that during military regimes, the military personnel came in as bureaucrats. But if you're not if it's not military rule or a martial law, there might be other autocratic regimes. There might be very powerful dictatorial people in charge. And the tendency of these dictators one could point out a lot of dictators in the Middle East recently. We have had them. And in such setups, you get ruler-dominated bureaucracies. In other words, whatever word comes from that particular person, the autocrat, it has to be implemented. The bureaucrat cannot say no. Otherwise, you won't stay in the bureaucracy. So the ruler-dominated bureaucracies carry out the will of that person, irrespective of whether that is in the interest of the people or not. And sometimes the will of that person can be very, very negative. And may contribute towards the loss of life and liberty. Because The bureaucracy becomes the personal instrument of the autocrat. And because the autocrat wants to rule, and because the autocrat thinks he will or she will never die, and because the autocrat wants to extend his or her rule, and that they can only do if they strengthen their control, which is possible by eliminating the opponents, or at least crushing them. So, in this type of bureaucracy, perhaps the worst type of bureaucracy, the bureaucrat becomes just a tool in the hands of an autocrat and does what is told. Another category, ruling bureaucracies. Ruling bureaucracies are found in colonial rules wherein the bureaucracy itself becomes the de facto ruling element, wielding both administrative and political power. So in a vacuum where there is no genuine political power, there is no real election or there is no representative government, or where there is a colonial ruler from outside, or in a way when there is a transition between two governments, you will find a ruling type of bureaucracy. A bureaucracy who itself becomes a ruler, not just the servant of the public. So it's no longer public service, it's ruling. It's wielding immense powers because the administrative and political powers are combined in one hand, in one place. So under such circumstances, you have what has been termed as a ruling bureaucracy. Now we come to an important aspect of bureaucracy, that is the classification systems. What is classification? If you go to recruit employees in the civil service, you've got to classify them in some matter. What they do, what is the level at which they are working, what kind of qualifications or duties are expected. So there are many systems of qualifications. In fact, there are two systems of qualifications. But, as it says here, classification and standardization is the basis on which the whole public administrative structure rests. The whole public administrative structure rests. As I pointed out before, that human resource is the critical mass which moves any organization forward. And to ensure the organization and rationality of this human resource, you've got to classify it. So proper classification ensures efficiency of recruitment and creation of a rational promotion system and equitable treatment for those working in different departments. تو آپ نے کیوں کلاسیفیکیشن کرنی ہے؟ کیونکہ اس کی وجہ سے ایفیشنسی، آپ کی جو ریکروٹمنٹ کی ایفیشنسی ہے، یعنی کیا آپ نے اچھے لوگ ریکروٹ کیے ہیں، وہ انشور ہو جائے گی کہ آپ اچھے لوگ ریکروٹ کریں گے اگر آپ نے پراپر کلاسیفیکیشن کر لی کہ ہمیں کون بندہ چاہیے, کیسا بندہ چاہیے, اس کی ڈیوٹیز اور رسپانسبلٹیز کیا ہوں گی, اور آگے اس کا پروموشن کا سلسلہ کیا ہوگا, پروموشن کے چانسز کیا ہوں گے, پروموشن کا طریقہ کار کیا ہوگا. اور اگر بہت سے محکمے, اور ہوتے ہیں بہت سے محکمے, ہر حکومت میں آپ چلے جائیں, آپ کو سوشل ویلفیئر کا محکمہ ملے گا, آپ کو ہیلتھ کا محکمہ ملے گا, آپ کو ٹریڈ اینڈ کامرس کا محکمہ ملے گا, آپ کو فائنانس کا محکمہ ملے گا, ہو سکتا ہے آپ کو اکنامک افیئرس کا محکمہ ملے, آپ کو آڈٹ کا محکمہ ملے گا. تو تمام سوشل یا اکنامک محکمے یا دوسرے محکمے, لا اینڈ آرڈر کے محکمے جو ہیں وہ, یا کوئی اسپیشلائزڈ محکمے ہیں یا ریگولیٹری اتھارٹیز ہیں, ان تمام, کیونکہ وہ پبلک سروس کے ہی امبریلا میں یہ سب کچھ آتا ہے, پبلک ایڈمنسٹریشن کے ہی گائز میں ہے یہ سب کچھ, تو آپ ان کو زیادہ مختلف طریقے سے نہیں ٹریٹ کر سکتے. دیر ہیز ٹو بی سم سملر اینڈ ایکویٹیبل ٹریٹمنٹ فار آل دوز پیپل ہو آر ورکنگ ان دیز, ورنہ ہارڈ برننگ ہوگی, ورنہ پروموشنز صحیح طریقے سے نہیں ہوں گی. اور اگر آپ کو پتہ ہی نہیں کہ جس بندے نے آنا ہے اس کی کیا کوالیفیکیشنز ہونی چاہیے, اس نے کام کیا کرنا ہے, تو پھر آپ جو ریکروٹمنٹ کریں گے وہ کس قسم کی ہوگی. سو یو ہیو ٹو لک ایٹ دیز ایسپیکٹس, یو ہیو ٹو انشور آل دیز تھنگس. اور آپ کا جو کلاسیفیکیشن سسٹم ہے, وہ طریقہ کار اس کا, یہ انشور کرتا ہے کہ آپ کا ہیومن ریسورس جو ہے وہ پراپرلی ریکروٹ ہو, پراپرلی ٹریٹ ہو, پراپرلی پروموٹ ہو, اور اس میں ہارڈ برننگ نہ کریٹ ہو. اب جنرلی دنیا میں دو قسم کے کلاسیفیکیشن سسٹم فالو کیے جاتے ہیں. ایک ہے رینک کلاسیفیکیشن اور دوسرا ہے پوزیشن کلاسیفیکیشن. اب پوزیشن کلاسیفیکیشن جو ہے وہ اویلیبل ہے یو ایس اے میں, جاپان میں, کینیڈا میں, فلپینس میں, تائیوان وغیرہ میں. اور دائرہ کار جو رینک کلاسیفیکیشن کا ہے وہ ہمارے سب کانٹیننٹ میں بالکل موجود ہے, انڈیا اور پاکستان میں. اور یہ ظاہر ہے یو کے سے آیا, جہاں سے ہمارا سارا بیوروکریٹک سسٹم آیا. اور صرف یہ نہیں, باقی بھی چیزیں ہم نے یونائٹڈ کنگڈم کے میرٹ بیسڈ بیوروکریٹک سسٹم سے بہت کچھ بورو کیا ہوا ہے اور بہت کچھ سیکھا ہوا ہے. اور اس کے علاوہ فرانس بھی ہے, جرمنی بھی ہے, ملیشیا بھی ہے, جہاں رینک کلاسیفیکیشن استعمال ہوتی ہے. یعنی دو کلاسیفیکیشنز, ایک پوزیشن کلاسیفیکیشن کا سلسلہ ہے اور ایک رینک کلاسیفیکیشن کا سلسلہ ہے. پوزیشن کلاسیفیکیشن جو ہے وہ ہم دیکھ رہے ہیں کہ امریکن کانٹیننٹ میں اور جاپان میں, تائیوان میں چل رہا ہے کام. اور کسی حد تک ہم یہ بھی دیکھ رہے ہیں کہ یہ بڑی اسپیشلائزڈ اکانومیز ہیں. انفیکٹ جہاں اسپیشلائزیشن ہے وہاں پر پوزیشن کلاسیفیکیشن سسٹم رائٹ ہو جاتا ہے. اینڈ آن دی ادر ہینڈ جہاں پر جنرلسٹ اپروچ ہے کچھ ٹوورڈ سول سروس اینڈ ریکروٹمنٹ, وہاں پر رینک کلاسیفیکیشن سسٹم رائٹ ہے. ٹوورڈز دا اینڈ ناؤ Let's have a look at the summary of what we did today. We talked about the civil service, and we talked of it in really nice terms. It is supposed to be a guardian to all. In other words, it is supposed to provide justice to all. Of course, it is supposed to serve the public, but the basis of all that service is justice. And we talked about a professional bureaucracy, properly inducted, well-trained, with a laid-out career path, including promotions and upgradation of skills from time to time to attune the bureaucracy towards the bigger, wider goals and to the changing world. We also found that all this should be done anonymously, that the bureaucracy should not come in the forefront. No one should know who is doing what. If the bureaucracy is to function unscrupulously and properly serve the people. We also found that when talking about civilian bureaucracy per se, or of the public administrative system, the military and the judiciary, the military bureaucracy and the judges are not included. And there is also a distinction between the politician and the bureaucrat, the political master and the bureaucrat. So any politician enjoying a so-called administrative post or dealing with matters of administration does not become part of the bureaucracy, because bureaucracy and civil service is the name given to that group of people who have committed their whole life to the public service and are therefore undergoing all the processes connected with it, including trainings, skill upgradation, and promotion. Whereas the politician has been elected by its constituents and comes into the administrative system for just a brief period of time, maybe. Then we looked at the types of bureaucracy and found that patronage bureaucracy used to be the usual system in the olden days, when out of political favor or because you were a friend of someone who mattered, you got a key appointment in the administrative system. In fact, some form of spoils system or patronage bureaucracy still exists in the US, where 9,000 professional jobs are doled out to party supporters when a new party comes into power. Caste bureaucracy, again historical, when in India the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas were coming as bureaucrats long time ago. Also, the British has a rather refined form of caste bureaucracy till recently, when squines of aristocratic families got well educated from Oxford and Cambridge and automatically, without much hassle, were able to find their way to the bureaucracy. In case you have an authoritarian regime, you are going to find that the bureaucracy is rural dominated. This ruler dominated bureaucracy does whatever that one powerful man says. Full stop. In order to exist, this bureaucracy will carry out whatever good or bad is told to it by the man in charge, man or woman in charge. In case of military rule, we see many military men coming into the bureaucracy and occupying key posts, as always happened in Pakistan. And ruling bureaucracy is one which assumes both political and administrative powers for a period of time. This happens in colonial systems, where a colonial master from outside has come and doesn't really know what to do. Or when there is a transition in the country from one government to another. And then we moved on to the various elements of the bureaucratic system, and we looked at classification. How we are going to classify bureaucrats, how we are going to give them status, what posts they are going to hold, and that is on the basis of their duties and responsibilities. And since the whole civil service is organized in a hierarchical manner, we have to provide a system whereby one knows where one stands and where one might stand after some time. Thank you very much.